It is Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's time for another Auburn Family Night where we talk about anything and everything that you want to discuss that is in the Auburn experience. A lot of sports and everything else that we can hit related to the orange and blue. All of that's coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, however you got here via YouTube, Facebook, the other avenues out there that you can view the show. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As always, on Wednesday nights, this show is produced by you and for you. So we are going to rely heavily, as we always do on Wednesday nights, with what you want to discuss. Pretty much, I am the puppet. You are the puppet masters. And so we're going to talk about anything that you want to discuss. Obviously, a lot of Auburn sports going on right now. Still, even though the academic year is over and effectively the athletic year is winding down, softball is about to begin their tournament play for the NCAA. Baseball is about to end their season, and there's been some exciting recruitment news for football, and hopefully some stuff coming for basketball too. So even though the year is winding down effectively, there's still plenty to talk about. So we'd love to hear from you. Couple of things that you can do for us to get the show started off on the right foot and do this live, or if you're watching on the replay. Right now, we'd love for you to start off by posting in the chat where you're watching from, your city and your state. And if you're international, you can do that too, along with a War Eagle, however you'd like to open up. Hey, dude. You can do any of that. That will help get us off to a great foot tonight with the show. And if you're here on YouTube, and you can do similar things on social media, please do make sure you smash that like button. As I opened up the show with, this is about you and for you. So we want to take some of your calls tonight. Phone line is always brought to you by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Please do check them out. They bring you the call-in link every single Wednesday night. So do check them out if you have not done so. You can call in. It's just, if you're here on YouTube, the link is available at the top of the chat. If you're on a different platform, you'd have to come over to YouTube to access that. But don't be shy. We'd love to hear from some of you guys tonight. And we have a pretty cool thing coming up a little bit later. Once I think most of the crowd has gotten here, a little partnership, additional partnership we're going to be talking about a little bit more detail. I'd love to have you guys help support us and someone else. And so with that being said, we got a couple people checking in. Jermaine, good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight on Facebook. Anthony, good to see you. Checking in. Jermaine was checking in from Alabama. So yeah, do let me know where you guys are checking in from so I can give you shout outs and things like that. So really, I can start us off with topics tonight, but we will bounce around to 1,000 different things. And I really want to talk about what you are focused on discussing tonight. Let's talk about the most prominent thing right off the top. And I know that most of you are focused on, given the amount of traffic that we got from that video alone. And today, the second video we did, obviously not doing as well, but still well enough. 2 recruits, 2 transfers from North Texas have been added in the spring portal edition. And my goodness, it is absolutely outstanding time right now. He has been, and I say he, meaning Hugh Freeze, has been killing it in the transfer portal. I said this on social media from the E2C Network account, but I'm not going to do a good job of remembering all their names, so I'm not going to attempt because I found out some of them. But the Auburn football creative team put together a great video kind of celebrating the hype that's been around the transfer portal in the spring for Hugh Freeze and in general. And they did a great job of this. So if you've not seen it, you can find. I found it on Facebook. I found it on Twitter. I think it's on Instagram. All the traditional formats out there. It's just a fun little thing with a bunch of like social media posts put in there. It was just I watched. I was like, whoever did this deserves a raise. It was very well done. So it's been fun. Drip Edit says that Keon Coleman, who was the Michigan State wide receiver that a lot of people hoped would come alongside new quarterback Peyton Thorne, It's apparently gone to FSU. I didn't know about that. So if that's true, I can't confirm or deny that. So I'll trust you, Drip Edits. But we don't really care. I'm not saying that to be mean to you. I'm just saying, oh, well, it's his loss. I would also say that he probably wants to go somewhere where he can be the prominent guy. And I don't know where Florida State's wide receivers stand right now, but the wide receiver room for me at Auburn is elusively intriguing for a lot of different reasons. There's been some guys here that have been here for quite some time that maybe have just been waiting for the right offense, that maybe have just been ready for the right coaching, have been waiting for support for the quarterback to be able to get the ball to them a little bit more quickly, a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more often. And I feel like they've been underutilized at times. That's just my opinion about it. I think there's a lot of other things that go into that, but maybe he's one. If I guess to say all that in relations to Keon Coleman, he was wanting to maybe he's wanting to go somewhere where there's not as much competition. I'm trying to play it out here because it would make sense, right? You would want to come to where your former quarterback was if you had a good relationship with him, and then you can kind of extrapolate that and say, well, maybe you didn't have a good relationship. I don't know. I don't know about that, but it is what it is at this point. And I think I have the right Keon Coleman. I hope that's the right one. What is the latest on the wide receiver from Colorado and defensive end we are going after? Andrew, I don't know how long you've been here, but we don't spend a lot of time focusing on this channel about recruits before they get here. So I'm not going to be able to tell you the latest. I do know from just the general chatter on social media that it seems like the Colorado wide receiver seems to be going elsewhere. I think California, UCLA maybe is what a visit he was taking soon. And I think he's from California too. So that would make a lot of sense for him to go back home. You see this a lot, guys that when they transfer, usually the conventional thinking seems to be go back closer to home. So for your last year or so of eligibility, you can have an opportunity to be seen by your family and friends, but also where it gives you the best opportunity to play and maximize your opportunities for post-college. You saw that a lot with like Robbie Ashford and Jason Jones here at Auburn, coming back from Oregon and coming back to the state of Alabama where they're from. A lot easier for family and friends to see you there. So that's all I know about that. The defensive end, I don't know which one you're referring to, so you're going to have to clarify on that. But we're not going to spend a ton of time and energy on that. That is done much better by a lot of the recruiting site people. And that is not my or our expertise here. We focus on the guys that have chosen to be part of the Tigers already. Brian checking in from Minnesota. Thanks for being here, my friend. Is anyone planning to take a trip out west to attend the Cal game? I'll tell you, Brian, if economics were a little bit more favorable, I'd be doing that. Not a good time for me right now. Not that I'm in dire straits, but it does not make wise decision to head out there for the time being as a small company. So unfortunately, I will be enjoying that. I say unfortunately, I will be enjoying the game from the comfort of my home, but wishing I could have taken a really cool and unique trip out there. I like going to other college campuses the few times I've been able to do it. I've been to but some SEC stadiums, Florida, Mississippi State, LSU. Gosh, is that all the places I've been? I'm trying to go to Vanderbilt next year. I think I'm going to make an attempt at that one, kind of knock that one off my list, so to speak, of places that I want to see. Oh, the ones from James Madison. No, I don't really have anything about him. Like I said, there's not going to be a lot of that here unless you've got some opinions about him. Last I heard, it was looking pretty good. That seems like a really good upgrade for him. James Madison to Auburn. Is James Madison, are they now Division I FBS? Have they moved up to that point? They're there now, right? It's hard with all of the expansion, realignment, people upgrading to certain levels. Yeah. Brian says, I'm 70-30 going, meaning 70% likely going. Is that how I take that? Well, by all means, if you can afford it and get out there, please do so. Because I think it would be a really cool trip to take. You're Listen, I don't want us to sit here and act like we are given or we should just be assumed to win a game. But let's be honest, even with a down period that we're at least still in, but coming out of for Auburn football, most times Auburn should beat Cal, right? Can we all just say that? I think even most Cal fans would go into the game next year, even if we didn't have all this recruiting hype, saying we're not too comfortable about this. So I feel like you'd be guaranteed a win. So you assume that we will win too. Yes. And if you are a fan of the wine, I would imagine that is a good place to be going. So if that is your thing, definitely make your way up there. Ryan or Neil says, yeah, not interested. He's probably like me. Nah, we're just going to sit here at home and enjoy it. I do think it would be a cool trip though, just to go see different college campuses. I enjoy that. That's my goal with the SEC stadiums, is to definitely visit all of those ones at some point for an away game for Auburn. But yeah, so if you can make it, please do so. It would be cool to see some perspectives from there. And I'm sure we'll have a good contingency of fans out there. Well, I hope we will. Let's say that. It's not as easy as of a journey as, say, was Penn State. I imagine UCLA will probably be a bigger draw next year for Auburn fans, just given the nature of Chip Kelly being there. Well, I assume he'll still be there. That type of offense, probably going to be a better game, a little bit more interest around it. UCLA has, for the most part, maintained more relevancy than Cal. So if you're someone who's asking, should I save up to go to the Cal game or the UCLA game? That's probably where you think, right? Or at least that's how I think, at least. Yeah, listen, I know where you're going with this, Neil, and I understand. But there are some parts of California that I still enjoy going. I'm a big Disney Parks fan, so I go to Disney. I've been to Disneyland recently. That was a lot of fun, but that's not close to where Cal is. So that's another reason to go to UCLA. Thomas, I don't know if I said hey when I brought your thing up, but welcome. Thanks for being here, checking in from Beeham tonight. What are you doing in Beeham and not in Leeds, home of Charles Barkley? What are you doing there tonight? So yeah, good question to start off. Is anybody going there? We'll need to ask that again, Brian, when we get closer to the season. I always like to hear from people. I wish there was time, and if there is time to do it, but a way for us to do almost a segment of people like traveling there and sharing their thoughts with us about it, like as they arrive there and stuff like that. I'd love to be able to give them like a camera they could live stream for us there. I love seeing this whole thing that we do is about the Auburn experience. And part of that is seeing and hearing, smelling, tasting the whole of the Auburn experience in everywhere that happens, in Auburn and outside of Auburn. So I'd love to do that if that was possible. Band has a show. That's why you're in Beeham tonight. I forgot that you were in a band. That's cool. Hope you guys have a good show there. So no calling from Thomas tonight, I guess. I'm glad that you're able to check in tonight. I would have loved to have heard your thoughts about some of these recruits. Excuse me, these transfers. I'm all choked up about it. Anyway, something that just popped in my head in the middle of that choking fit there. I see the chatter for uniforms is starting to pick up a little bit with some commentary from John Cohen being asked at some of the ambush events. By the way, if you don't know what ambush events are, they're basically like alumni and booster, just anybody who wants to come and pay the money to be a part of it, events around the Southeast where they bring the football coach, the basketball coach, several other coaches and Auburn personalities to meet with fans. And that has now wrapped up the 4 that they went to, which would be Columbus area, Atlanta, Nashville, and Birmingham. I think that's right. Anyway, that's all done. And they asked him about that today. And so there's been some conversation about, does Auburn stay with Under Armour? Does Auburn go to Nike? Does Auburn go to Adidas? All that kind of stuff. I think we're probably going to have Clint on here pretty soon, but it seems like September 1st is the date to be watching for. When Auburn, not in terms of them making a decision, but at least some things can start moving one way or the other after September 1st. And what I feel like and what I kind of interpret into a lot of things that I'm hearing and seeing is that Auburn's making a change. And I think most of the fans understand that at this point. I actually would be a fan of keeping Under Armour for a variety of reasons. Because it makes us different. It's my biggest reason, but and I like us differentiating ourselves. But at the same time, I get why people maybe don't want it and want something a little bit better in their eyes out of their apparel brand and things like that. But I'm a fan of the Under Armour stuff because I think it's made us unique. Kind of like having Russell as your outfitter of sorts for sports and a variety of other things out there. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, please do share them. So what was I going to say? Wow, I just kind of had a brain fart there. I know we're waiting on a lot of news from basketball right now in terms of transfer portal. I know there's a lot of people that got a little worried, but then I think there's a little hope out there with the Tennessee guy, Julian Phillips, going into the transfer portal, and with Auburn's already established relationship with him in the first part of his recruiting before he chose Tennessee. He might make a swing back over to Auburn and end his time there. I think he's listed at about 6'8", so he'd be a good, small forward type. Maybe I don't know what his weight characteristics are like, his weight measurables are like. So I don't know what he would look like in terms of filling the needs that we have right now. We're waiting on Janai Broom to see how he does in the rest of the NFL, NBA draft, combine. Is it a combine? It is a combine. All of that process that he's going through there. I would expect Dylan to be back, and who else was in there? Is anybody, I may be speaking out of turn here. Is anybody getting the feeling that Wendell Green may be making a play to come back? Is that just me? I'll be honest. I have no reason to think this, to back it up, but he was promoting a lot of the On to Victory stuff at his social media this week. And while I admire him after he's announced that he's leaving Auburn to honor his obligations there, but I just found it intriguing. Anybody else? Let me know if you have any thoughts about that. Brian giving a shout out to the men qualified for the NCAAs. Now they qualified for the next round, right? They made it to, because this was the first regionals, right? This was regionals in Auburn. Is that how it works? And then now they're going to the official, maybe that's what you meant, the NCAA championship. It's kind of the way I've always followed it and understood it. It's kind of like for track and field. They have one like regional or preliminary, and then you move on to the real big thing. See, look at me. I got it right. I've learned a thing or two doing this show for so long. It finally starts sticking every once in a while. What else is on our minds right now? We've talked a little bit about the transfer portal for football. I think a lot of people are still anticipating us taking another wide receiver. I think, is it the kid from Jackson State, maybe? A lot of people have their eye on. I think a defensive back I've seen thrown around by some people. And these are just people speculating and talking about what they think we need, not necessarily the coaches. I thought I saw someone say that we needed another linebacker, but I'm not so sure after yesterday. I feel like we've got about 8 or roughly 8 guys on roster, including him. So I wonder if we're done at that one. But wide receiver would make a lot of sense. Some sense to bring in an extra body there. My hope is that we bring in someone with a little bit of extra eligibility to build up the future of this team. It feels like we're very top heavy on the upperclassmen and top heavy on the lower end too, so to speak. Not necessarily a correct science on that, but that's what it feels like to me. So if we could find someone that maybe falls like within the middle of that, maybe 2 to 3 years of eligibility, that's kind of what I personally would like. If I'm not, if I'm not wrong on that. I am thinking about going to Auburn for a very quick trip this weekend, meaning just for one day, to the baseball game. We're not guaranteed yet that we'll be there, but if most of you've heard, that is the second flight of the War Eagle. So if I get to go there, we'll see that in person for the first time. For those of you that are wondering, I was not there for the first. We just had eyes in the skies, so to speak, to capture the moment for us. All right, we got our first caller tonight, so let's go ahead and talk to him. I believe this is our friend from the Great White North. Brian, is this you?
It is, man. How are you?
How are you doing tonight?
I think what I'm supposed to say is War Eagle. That's what I was supposed to say. Well, I'm doing good.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. What's on your mind tonight, buddy?
Apparently traveling to California is on my mind. I don't know.
So here, don't give me specifics because obviously that's too personal, but I'm assuming you've done the math so far on like tickets and stuff. Have you done that already?
I've done the math, and to be fair, I have a good friend that lives in Sonoma, about 80 minutes or so away. So
gotcha.
I can stay at his place. That makes it easy. He's a Cal fan, but he's a friend. That is a friend because we were debating Cam Newton versus somebody else for Heisman back in 2010. In a Facebook group.
Yeah.
I think who else would have been? I don't even remember who finished runner-up to Cam, but
would it have been Aaron Rodgers?
No, he was already a Packer by then.
That was already?
No, Packer, I mean he was arguing in favor of Cam.
Oh, gotcha.
But then I was like, "So are you an Auburn fan?" He goes, "No, I'm a Cal fan," and I'm like, "What?" But okay. But he just loved Cam, so
gotcha.
Yeah, so he is a Cal fan, but he's like, it'd be fun to go watch Auburn beat us in person with you. That'd be a good time. So,
I feel like that's going to be the perspective of most Cal fans. Is they're like, hey man, let's just see what happens, but we're not expecting much. And I like that. I like a fan base that kind of understands where they are and understands that even an Auburn in a downtime for them is still probably more capable than most to beat them even on their home turf. Now, I'm not taking anything for granted. We see what happens when you take things for granted last 2 years.
Believe me.
But yeah, so what's the ticket prices right now, if you don't mind me asking, if you've looked?
I've more looked at flights and ticket prices. So my Auburn fandom, I used to be a Viking season ticket holder.
Bless you.
And then I know. And our friends to the east drafted Anders. I'm trying to, but then I became an Auburn fan, and I pretty much gave up. Well, not pretty much. I gave up my Viking season tickets, and that is my pool of money to go watch Auburn football.
Oh, that's much better.
I go to one or two. For a number of years, I actually had Auburn season tickets, and I would sell them or give them away, and then just go to Georgia or LSU or whatever.
Right.
I don't have those anymore. But anyway, what I would spend on Viking season tickets is kind of my budget to go watch Auburn football. So,
and I think that's
how I work it. So
I think that's really good way to work that too, because this is I won't say once in a lifetime opportunity, but how often has Auburn gone to Cal, right? I mean, that's why I say that that's a trip that if it was affordable for me and would work out timing wise, I think that's the second week of the season, right?
Second week of the season. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get US and that's why that's my 30% I won't go is just if that weekend doesn't work. But
yeah, that'll be the weekend of my wife's birthday and our anniversary.
Well, I mean, Napa's beautiful.
I've heard it.
Even if you don't drink wine, Napa's beautiful.
Oh, I've heard it's amazing just to go walk around out there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And then what was I going to say? UCLA. That would be a much better game, but I might have PTSD from the last time I was in the Rose Bowl. So
yeah, I didn't want to bring that up.
That was a tough night.
I almost made that trip. I think I've told this story a couple of times, and I won't tell the long version of it, but essentially I kind of done what you did. I worked out so many angles and deals to get myself there. Like I was going to fly into Vegas, stay with my friend who lived in Vegas, rent a car, borrow his car, drive there, drive back after the game. So glad for that heartbreaking moment that I hadn't invested all that time, money, and energy into that. I mean, it would have been a cool experience, but
my friend who made me an Auburn fan back in the day, he was like, "How are you going to do this?" I said, "I'm going to fly to Vegas." And then there was somebody who chartered a bunch of buses over to, so I'm going to do this bus thing. And he goes, "Oh, well, he was, I don't remember if he was engaged or just living with his girlfriend forever at that time." I'm like, "You should do that and just get married while you're there." And he goes, "That's a good idea." So they flew to Vegas, got married on Saturday, and then drove over to the game on Monday. So it was beautiful. But
that's how you do it. You just got to work every angle. It was like when Auburn made it to the Final Four in Minneapolis. I have family in Wisconsin, so I was trying to like make connections up there, cut deals, and it wasn't going to work out. Like I mean, I was much closer to pulling off the Final Four thing because I figured, hey man, this ain't ever happen again. Which I guess you could have made the point for the Rose Bowl. The BCS championship ain't ever happening again. So it was bittersweet. I'm sure
if this had existed in 2019, I've got a guest room, but Minneapolis, and then it was really cool. I'll tell the story and then I'll go. There is this little tap room brewery in a suburb of Minneapolis called Bent Brewstillery.
Say it one more time. What's it called?
Bent Brewstillery.
Bentford.
BENT. Okay. And I stopped there one day on my way home years ago, and I was wearing a Auburn sweater, like a nicer sweater with just a little AU on it. And I ordered a beer, and the bartender said to me, "Did you stop here because you're an Auburn fan?" And I laughed, and I said, "Yeah, that's why I stopped here." And he goes, "No, I'm serious." And I go, "Why would I stop here because I'm an Auburn fan?" He's like, "Oh, the guy that owns this went to Auburn." He goes, "Every Saturday, there's like 10 or 15 Auburn fans in here watching football."
Wow.
And I had searched for like an Auburn bar. And I'm like, "When did that start?" He's like, "Last year." So it is the Auburn bar in the Twin Cities. There's 15, 20 people that will show up and watch it. But during the Final Four, they had the band there. They had the cheerleaders there. They had people from all over the country in Auburn. The local news did there's an Auburn bar in Minneapolis. Like we were really cool that weekend. It was fun. So much.
So is this individual or individuals that kind of help set that up? Are they part of the like alumni association? Are they like the Auburn club for that area?
Yeah, there is now a Twin Cities Auburn alumni group called the Frozen Tigers. The woman that really ran it moved to Phoenix. Like a lot of people want to do, but
why? Right,
it's not what it used to be, but it's still, if it's a Saturday afternoon and we're playing football and you don't feel like, it's fun to go over there.
They
usually. It's truly a tap room, so there's no food or anything other than like some frozen pizza. But people bring in like boiled peanuts, and it's kind of like a little tailgate. And
there you go. Very nice.
I
love hearing about that stuff. Yeah, I love hearing about those kinds of things, and I really commend whether it's an official alumni club or not. I love it when people like pull these things together and kind of make them happen. Like the New York crew does a really good job of that, but obviously they're huge. And, there's some bigger ones out there. I think Tampa has got a big alumni group. So I like little things like that in places where you wouldn't think you'd find a lot of Auburn fans. They kind of coalesce together and find each other.
I looked for a while, like, is there an Auburn, alumni club in the Twin Cities? And I'm not officially alumni because I didn't graduate from there. I did take a couple classes during COVID online just so I could say I've attended a class at Auburn.
Hey, it's all good.
I gotta do it. But anyway, so I found it by accident after looking for it, and it's fun. It's a great group of people. And what's funny is there's people who go every Saturday who have no connection to Auburn. And like I've asked them, like, why do you come? And they're like, I don't know, you guys are just good people and you're a fun team to root for. I'm like, okay.
That's the kind of stuff I love to hear. That's how we want to be represented. Obviously, everybody's got, bad apples and such, but by and large, I think that's the common theme we hear a lot is even if we get after you a little bit in game time, we're still at least fun to be around.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's just a great. Yeah. But for the Final Four, it was packed in there. I have the cheerleaders there. There was a blast. So
I can imagine.
Anyway, I'm just bored on a Wednesday night, so I thought I'd call in. So
please always don't. Even when you're not bored, please call in, sir. It's always good to hear from you.
All right, we'll do it. War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right, that was Brian. We got somebody else on the line here. We'll bring him in just a second, so stand by. Would love to hear from some of you all if you want to get in line on the phone line. Already got Jimmy from Facebook checking in over there. So if you want to call in, it's available here on YouTube at the very top of the chat. It is pinned. Brian just used it, so I know it works. So please take advantage of it if you would like to. Tonight, would love to hear some of your voices like Brian, or you can be on camera like our next person and show your smiling face. So take advantage of that. All right, let's talk to our next guest. He is our Captain Optimism, and we love talking to Kevin every single week. What's going on, Kevin?
War Eagle, Cal, how you doing?
I am doing well, buddy. How are you doing?
How about those 2 transfers we got?
Well, you know what? We talked a little bit about them at the beginning of the show, but it's worth talking about again. And even Jermaine here brings it up, bringing up about those portals, as you kind of said it too. So everybody seems to be on the same wavelength.
I think that Caleb Burton will be good fit for Auburn.
Oh, we're just moving on to Caleb Burton. All right. So that one, I think, will pay longer term dividends because he's got so many years left. And when I was talking earlier about the wide receiver room, I was talking about it felt like we had a lot of younger talent and a lot of older talent. We needed kind of somewhere in the middle. He would be on the younger talent side. But either way, extremely happy to have him.
Do we still have Cole Moore?
Coy Moore, yes. As far as I know, I checked the list the other day and he was on it. Your main guys coming into the year would be outside of adding people, you know, and stuff like that. People that we know that we've added from recruiting, but the main guys still here would be like Coy Moore, Javaris Johnson, who's that?
Malcolm Johnson.
Oh, Malcolm Johnson. Yes. But he's had some injuries that he has kind of had come up. And I don't know about right now, but you know, over time has had some injuries that have kind of hampered his progress, so to speak. Camden Brown would be another one. So those are the 4 guys that you kind of look as your veterans, so to speak. Yeah. And then you've got like DeQuavius Story, who just came, that came in this year. What's that?
I bet he's good.
He might be. He's young, but he's got a lot of people to beat out of playing time because you got guys like Nick Mardner who are going to be here. Yeah. Obviously, you brought up Caleb Burton that's going to be factoring into that, and plenty of others that are still able to earn some playing time.
How about that linebacker?
The new one?
Yeah.
The one from North Texas? Hey, listen, I love it when we can get some teammates together. They already know how, well, 2 different sides of the ball, but they at least know each other well, so you know that's got to help with the transition coming over together. I would imagine coaches are going to set them up as roommates for the year, which would be not shocking. Seems pretty easy to pull that off.
I think I like the new quarterback we got.
Peyton Thorne? Yeah. A lot of people are very high on him, and I see why. I also see, you know, reason to think that it's not just his job to come in and take. It is his job he has to earn. And I'm going to root for the best quarterback to win, whether that's Robbie, whether that's Holden, whether that's Peyton Thorne. I think those are your 3 guys. No offense to Hank Brown, but I think he's got the bigger hill to climb.
I can't wait when 2024 players get here.
Oh, you're talking about the guys that are starting to come in now, like Walker White, that quarterback guy?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got a long way before they're here, though. So I'd say just get used to our guys that we have right now.
I think we will get Keon Coleman out of Central Phoenix City.
Well, I'm glad you're optimistic about that because I thought we were really close to having him commit. And I said at the start of the show, I know a lot of people kind of just tuned in to see what's going on with recruiting. And I know this isn't the biggest recruiting show, but I follow it enough to kind of stay abreast of what's happening. And it really did seem like Cam was really close to committing. And I really thought we were going to hear something about that much sooner. So I wonder what the holdup is. Maybe because
is he a senior this year?
Yes, he would be part of this 2024 class. I know this though. Walker White, our quarterback commit, is one of the biggest recruiters that I have ever seen in a recruit. He is going after everybody, offense, defense.
Yeah, everybody.
What's that?
He's going after everybody.
What do the coaches need to do? He's doing the job for them because he is just making sure all of these players know. He's specifically singled people out saying, I want you to come block for me. I want you to come take the handoff from me. I want you to catch the ball for me. I want you to, I want you to get the ball back on defense for me or for us, however he chose to say it.
And I think I like that wide receiver short. His last name is Shorter.
Yeah, it's not the best last name though for being a wide receiver. You kind of hope they have some height on them, right? Yeah. Little dad joke there. But hey, if he can catch the ball and do something with it, I don't care what his last name is. It can be Mud for all I care.
I hope our softball girls win two games in the Clemson Regional.
Just 2 games? You don't want them to win the whole dang thing?
Yeah, I want them to go World Series.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you looked at their path to the World Series? They have got to beat not only, they got to
original be at Oklahoma.
Yeah, they'd have to go beat Oklahoma most likely, and then still face some of the best in the nation in the College World Series. So it is a tall task for them to accomplish, but we've seen them surprise us before. So maybe so. You never know.
I call on Sunday night. I call in on 3 Auburn Live.
Did you?
Jeffrey
Lee?
Yeah, Jeffrey Lee.
Awesome. Yeah, I like those guys over there. They're pretty
One
nice.
night I was talking about the Marcus Riddick, the Georgia commit.
Is a defensive end? Is he a defensive end? Or is he oh yeah. You think he's gonna flip?
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, Hugh Freeze has definitely shown that he can bring anybody in that he wants to pretty much. So I will believe that. If he thinks he can be better suited at Auburn, get him over here.
I'll call you back next Wednesday.
I love it, buddy. Well, good to hear from you tonight, and we'll look forward to talking to you next Wednesday. All right. War Eagle, bye. All right. There's Kevin. Always good to hear from him. Like I said, please do take advantage of the call-in link if you'd like to do so tonight. Great to hear from Brian so far and Kevin. Let's see who else maybe wants to call in tonight. One of our regulars, Thomas, he checked in earlier. Unless maybe he's still watching, but he has a gig tonight, so he might be a little predisposed. I was really hoping we'd hear from him because we all love to hear his takes on some of these guys, especially I bet he would have had a few things to say about that linebacker. Seems like right up his alley type of player. A lot of good vibes though now for the football team, but we really are entering that period where, once we fill maybe 1-2 more spots, feels like on the transfer portal, maybe just one. It seems like everybody's thinking we'll do a wide receiver and maybe another defensive player of sorts. It feels like it's going to be pretty much done until July. No more spring ball no more spring ball at all to talk about anywhere. We're going to move on to topics like apparel, season look aheads. How early do you guys want me to do like season look aheads? Like I've always struggled with when to do those and how to do those. I usually do a whole big, we're going to break down the season live stream. You guys tell me, I could use some input from you guys on what you would like to see from this, from the channel, because this is very much a show that is by you, for you, and about you, because that's what we want this place to be overall. Before we got some callers, I was talking about the War Eagle flight at baseball, the second one we're ever going to do. I guess we can stop saying that really probably after this time, because it feels like they're going to do it much more often. So I hope I get to go see that in person, if not in the stadium from the parking deck. We might, even if we don't have tickets and can't stay the whole time, we might have to swing by just for the flight and then get out of there, just because it'd be really cool to see. But I sat in for one baseball game this season, I think, which is really bad. I've not been able to travel as much this year just because of economics. And I hope that gets a little bit better next year. Let's see here. Neil says, my expectations are subdued, but still excited about Auburn football. I think expectations being subdued is fine. I really do. I think that's a very fair place to be. I think it's a wise place to find yourself at. But I also like that you said that you're excited. I think being excited doesn't mean that you can't be subdued in expectations. And I don't think being subdued in your expectation doesn't mean you can't be excited. So I think that's a very fair place to be. And that's probably, I feel that kind of itch where I'm getting excited because of all the things that we're seeing in the perception game of all of this happening with recruiting and transfer portal and doing and saying the right things, starting to get that feeling that maybe we could do a little better, but I'm trying to really temper that right now. So I would say that's a fair way to go. You'd like to talk about the history of Auburn football. So let me make sure I have this right, Neil. You confirm in the chat. You want me to do either episodes, segments, live streams about Auburn history. Is that what you're saying? Let me know. Brian has given us confirmation on the tickets for Cal. $73 to $274 on Vivid Seats, which means that will be 100 plus and 300 plus because of the fees, unless you've already calculated the fees in. They'll get you with them fees, man. Ooh. Yeah, listen, I think for a once in a lifetime trip, because they're not going to go to Cal in our lifetime again, probably. $74, 73. I don't know why I said 74, but $100 basically is not that bad in my opinion. Especially if you're making like a trip out of it. That's the big thing, is if you're going to be traveling to some of these obscure Auburn games, you definitely want to like make it a trip out of it. So next year, well, not the next year, but the following 2 years, because Cal will come to us next year. I might have to go out to LA for a little Disneyland trip or something like that. I don't know. Just, who knows? Maybe all the plane ticket prices will be better than pre-fees. Okay. Thank you. AU history in terms of past teams, players, etc. Okay. Well, hey, seriously, Neil, if you've got some like more specifics about what you'd like to see, let me know. We're always game for seeing what you guys want to see. I mean, that gives me an idea, but like, are you talking short episodes, long form live streams with like Clint's a very good guy to have on for that, but others as well. He big history buffs. Clint and I and others have talked about doing some type of Auburn history thing. We just haven't pinned down how to do it yet. I'll give you guys, since we talk about a lot of things here on this show, pull back the curtain a little bit. This little window that you guys see into my world, and actually, let's see if you probably would see too much. Oh no, you can't see too much on that one. So you guys are seeing the little window into my world right now that I've always, we changed the background a little bit recently, since the turn of the year. So hopefully we're going to have a lot more changes coming soon to the backdrop, a repositioning of sorts. So hopefully you guys will have some more new interesting things to look at. I'm wanting to do maybe like a wider shot and things like that, but because of the shall we say, dynamics of this room right now, this is the best that I can do without you seeing things that you don't need to see. And that sounded really weird, but that's not what I meant at all. I made that a lot weirder than it had to be. Let's do a look back at 2013, 10 years later. Great. And I've already thought of that kind of, Brian, at least for social media stuff. We did this for the 2010 year, kind of following up on the game that happened each week for that week. So us and everybody else are going to be doing similar things like that. But that's something that I'm going to be putting on my calendar. I guess this is where I was going with telling you guys the backdrop's going to change. There's a lot of things that I want to do that I'm kind of limited with spacing and things like that, that I'm hoping we can start moving in the direction. And it requires a rearrange of this room, which may have already started happening. You just can't see it yet. This world I have to keep the same, though, because I do so much on here. But when things slow down in the summer, that's when behind the scenes stuff can happen. The 1983 team was awesome. That would be a good one as well. That'll be what, 50 years? 40 years? Do math, Kyle. Wait, 93, 2003, 13, 2020. Yep, so that'd be 40 years. Yeah, that was a tough one to not have a national title. It would be cool on the 40th anniversary if they would announce we are claiming that one. I saw some talk about that. I think it was last week on social media, people wanting to stir the pot on ones they should claim again. Yeah, math's hard, guys. I know for me. Y'all know me well enough by now to know that I struggle with the maths. Went to a lot of the games in 2013. One of the games they had the 83 team there minus Bo Jackson, who couldn't be there. And you listen, you know, when Bo says he can't be there, he really means it, because he's really taken opportunities to come to games that I thought he wouldn't. He's there for the Iron Bowl most of the time, but Bo, for a guy who's of that celebrity status, he seems to be very willing to come back and be a part of the university. This is Charles too, but I guess I've always been surprised how much he would want to come back, but I think that shows how much it means to him. And especially when Pat was here, what Pat meant to him. So he could come see him. I turned 50 this year, so I know the math. Does age equate you're good at math? Because it's not working out that way for me. Miami jumped Auburn to win the title that year. Auburn beat a bunch of bowl eligible teams that year. And wasn't it? So both the other teams ahead of them had lost, right? But previously, or some version of it. Basically, there was something that happened to the teams ahead of them that pretty much disqualified them from being considered for the national title. And it was like, oh, just have this person, Miami, jump Auburn. As if they didn't have enough titles. But such is the life of being an Auburn fan, isn't it? Maybe one day. Maybe one day. But I don't want us to go too crazy with this whole reclaiming titles thing, because then we run the risk of being Alabama. And as I've said about whether it's apparel deals and things like that, I like us being different and having some nuance to us from especially our state competitor, but just, conference competitor, our just at large. I like us blazing a trail less traveled, even if there's still a few people on that particular trail. Let's blaze it like it's our own. Auburn beat Michigan in the Sugar Bowl. Miami was ranked 5 or 6 and jumped at Auburn. Yeah, this is why I'm glad we have a playoff system now, because there's less debate now. As much as I love more college football with this 12-team college football playoff coming, I really think a golden opportunity was missed to really make this thing solidified with all this transition of realignment and stuff, fix it, make everybody join 8 conferences. Let's all shut up about which conference is best. You can hash that out during the season, but your champions go. That's it. If you're not good enough to win your conference championship, you are not good enough to be in the game. And people are going to point to this example and that example. I get that, but those are just, the odds are even more in your favor for those extra matchups and things like that. To me, I will always say, if you're not good enough to win your conference, you're not good enough to host to be in the national title. Just the way I am. Maybe that's wrong. It probably is wrong, but that's the way I feel. So I think it should have been 8 conferences. Every champion goes, no exceptions, and give everybody a fair shot at it. Equal shot. You can seed them, and the Sun Belt would be the last one always, but they couldn't say they didn't have their shot. WT, good to see you, sir. Thanks for hanging out. Brian turned 40 on the day of the kick six. I was there too. I didn't turn 40, but I was there. Oh man. There are moments in your life where you just kind of look back and you're like, did I just experience that? Good and bad. And that was one of the good ones in relation to Auburn and sports and things like that. And it's just, I was in the stadium for what was probably, arguably, the greatest sports moment ever. Given the context of everything that was on the line, how it went down that way. If you've ever watched is it John Rinaldi on ESPN, that does the mystical look back short video things about great moments that happened. When he laid that out, I think it was either that night or the next day about how it happened. Whoo, man, it sends chills down my back. I think the line he said was one last move for a defending champion and a final something. I'm butchering it, but it was like something like that left Alabama chasing as it left Auburn with a chance and Alabama chasing for forever. And then it showed Chris Davis running. Man, I butchered that, but it gets me in my feels every single time. Kick six and I'm not a hockey fan, but I think that Miracle on Ice is just really cool. So that one's so hard because you're comparing. It's not even professional sports and college sports. You're comparing international sport, like the world sports. So it's really hard when we get into that conversation, but that's definitely, I think, Miracle's up there. Trying to think of anything else, but I think college football, at least, that's the best one out of that. You were at Jordan-Hare for the first Iron Bowl in Auburn. So when he said it, I was like, man, that was a long time ago. But I was like, that's 1993, Kyle. Isn't it still seem weird that doesn't it just seem weird that it took that long for the game to happen in Auburn? That it took that long for it to go to either campus? Like, is it cool to have these neutral site games and rotate them in? Sure. If there was a better field than Legion Field as time went on, sure. I know they've got the new stadium there in Birmingham, but that ain't going to hold the Iron Bowl. They're not going to make enough money off of that, and it can't handle that amount of people. I saw it couldn't handle the bowl games. It's nice, but the facilities are just not set up for the amount of people that Auburn and Alabama draw into them. Could you imagine how crowded that place would be if Alabama like slumped down to a Birmingham Bowl? Whew. Man. But yeah, it would be cool to still have a neutral site game rotated in, but it needs to be on campuses. I love the kick six, but Miracle on Ice was much bigger sports moment. Admission, I'm a hockey fan. See, that's the problem is Brian's a hockey fan, or at least I'm stereotyping it as a hockey fan being from Minnesota. But yeah, I acknowledge as a non-hockey fan that Miracle on Ice is up there in the tops. It is in every conversation of the biggest sports moments, but I know I've got my orange and blue glasses on. I don't know how you don't have a really strong case for the kick six, given the context of everything that happened that season. And if Auburn wins the national title, I think it's hands down the greatest sports moment ever because of what it leads to. And the loss in the national title game sullies it a little bit, but not a lot. Man, we are just being invaded by the hockey fans tonight. Blackhawks and Boston Bruins. Brian, what you got? Well, who's your team? Is it the Wild? Are you a Minnesota Wild fan? I don't know hockey a lot, but I know some of it. Since we are on a hockey talk, let's talk about the Auburn hockey team. The club team, they almost won a national title this year. One of the things that I want to do one day off in the future when we are a little bit bigger and we have extra help for me is give more coverage to things like that. Would love to be able to do that. We've done an episode with Dusty. Most of you guys know him. He's not here tonight, but he's on a lot of our live streams and in the chat. He is a hockey guy and did a really good episode about that with myself, and that was really interesting to learn a little bit about the club program. We even had their manager at the time, I would assume he's still there, reach out to do more stuff, and I told him, I said, I want to, just it can't happen right now, so we'll see. And I know, trust me, we will do I will do what I can as time allows, but it's tough right now. So you got to go where the majority of people want to. And as much as I try to fight that balance of what makes people watch the content, because the more people that watch the content, the better your channel, your social media, all that stuff does, the better, right? But I also don't want to not live by what we preach here of giving the full Auburn experience. So it's an interesting balance to try to walk through. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are not done just yet, but we're going to start winding down here. But I want to give you guys, especially that are here right now, a big heads up about something. And if you've watched our video today about the new recruit, the new transfer, the linebacker, it's in there. It's in the link description. We are just starting a affiliate relationship with Alumni Hall. I feel like that they were our sponsor for the bracket challenge this year. We've been in conversations with them. So I'm putting right now in the chat, should go out to every place that's watching right now. If you'll use that link and go check them out, see they got some great stuff over there. You can support us by supporting them as an affiliate. Obviously, they want to see that we're able to bring them to you. So if you can do that, it's a big help. We're not just going to plug it this way every single time. We're going to be sharing some items they have from time to time and some deals they've got going on. But we have now begun our relationship with them as an affiliate ambassador of sorts. And so we're super excited about that. Alumni Hall has two stores in the Auburn area, one in Auburn, right there on campus pretty much, and then the other in Opelika. One in Huntsville, and I think maybe not one in Birmingham, but I think it's Huntsville is the other area. Big conglomerate of Auburn people. So if you could do that for us, that is a huge help. Support us by supporting Alumni Hall. We appreciate them for allowing us to work with them. Other than that, you guys know the drill. Other things that you can do to get involved, make sure you are a subscriber if you're not. When we get to 400 subscribers, 4,000, which we are only 160 something, I think, away from that right now. We're going to do that giveaway where you could be a channel member. You could be a Booster Club member if you want to support us that way. But being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of the Auburn family is what we appreciate. So thank you guys so much for doing that for us. We'll close the phone lines down. Get your final questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals in right now. What else haven't we talked about? Thank you so much for the kind words, and I appreciate your encouragement on each of those videos. Yeah, I enjoy doing them. It's easy for me to so the struggle sometimes with doing a channel like this is it's all about a balance, right? This whole thing should be, for those Marvel fans out there, of doing content that's somewhat repetitive, that's easy to replicate. And those recruit videos, transfer portal videos are very easy to replicate, but also giving some fresh stuff. So if you ever see something weird from me, you're like, that doesn't fit what he normally does. It's me just trying something new. I know you every week. Again, I honestly don't even think about it because I just I change the date on it and keep going. I'll probably change it as we get to the next year. I don't have any plans to change it right now. I kind of like looking at Cadillac because that's my guy. So he's going to stay up there for the time being. I'm going to have to see. That's the thing, is that soon he won't be here anymore. I'll probably put, because I want to have the ladies represented in there too. So I'll probably put maybe Bree Ellis of softball on there, or I don't know who else that everybody is just going to know off the top. I know that not everybody knows all the equestrian girls out there, so it'll be somebody in her place, but might find a different picture of Bruce, and those other ones will probably remain the same. But yeah, we'll definitely change some things around at some point. Just haven't really thought about it and care to think about it right now. But thank you for the reminder. Trying to think if there's anything else we haven't hit. Schedule stuff. So right now, if you notice, I always promote stay to the end to go to the next watch page and go ahead and like the button. We don't have one set up right now, and there's a reason for that, because our next scheduled live stream is normally Sundays at 9 for our Auburn Experience, the Auburn Experience podcast, which would be episode 36. We are not going to be able to do it at that time Sunday. We are trying to work out if we can do it earlier in the day because of schedules, or if we need to go push it back a day, or just kind of take a week off just because schedules is the only reason. So that's why you don't see that yet. So please stay tuned here at YouTube, especially so you know when and if that's going to happen. We should be figuring that out here in the next day or so. We want to make it happen as close to the normal time as possible, but it would probably be, the aim would be midday, late afternoon, early evening of Sunday at this point because of schedules. So just stay tuned for that. Anything else you guys can think of that we didn't hit in our final minute or so that we haven't talked about? We hit recruiting, basketball and football. We hit a little bit of softball, talking about them. Didn't really talk a lot of baseball except through the whole Eagle thing flying again. We talked uniforms, Auburn history, titles we should have claimed. We talked about a trip out to Cal and, things like that. So we hit a lot of different topics tonight, and that is why I love talking with you all on Wednesday nights, because we get it. And there it is. There's your other reminder. We did not mention Bucky, so there's not a need to put anything into a jar or anything like that. We did mention Clint, though, and that's the other joke, is if you mention Clint, you got to put something in a Clint jar, I guess. If there's two entities or / people that should feel very valued on our shows, it should be Bucky's, and it should be Clint Richardson of the Auburn Uniform Database. With that, please do check out some of the videos we've got out there for you now. Please, please, please do visit our friends at Alumni Hall. I'm going to put the link in the bottom of or at the very first link in the description after this video. I'll put it up here one more time in the chat as you head out. Would love for you guys to go visit over there. Check out some of the things you can get from them. Some baseball stuff that they're going to be promoting with all of that going on. So don't miss out on some deals over there. And we'll be talking about them more in the future. Thank you guys so much for being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And we love seeing you every single Wednesday. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.